ABC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful Southern California and in parallel from the Turfs Up radio studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for tuning into the Water Zone show this evening.
Well, good afternoon, and thanks for tuning into the Water Zone show. We appreciate you doing that. I'm Rob Starwell with Ms. Toro Malali and Ms. Chris Austin from Nathan's Notebook, and we're sure glad you checked in with us, and we got a bunch of good stories to tell you and talk about lots of good things that are interesting and most important, water. Without that, we don't live, so we need water, and we're going to make sure we talk about it and people know what's going on. So, Tara, welcome. Did you have a great Memorial Day weekend?
I did actually have a really wonderful Memorial Day weekend. We had a movie at Lake Piru. We call it Moonlight Cinema, where we actually invite the entire community out, and it's just a big movie screen and the stars and the lake, and it's really fun. We did little giveaway bags of Baby Ruths and pirate booty for those people who've seen Goonies and know what those things are. It was a really fun evening.
Ms. Austin, how was your weekend?
Nice and relaxing, quiet and peaceful.
Weather warm for everybody out there?
No. Actually, it's very cool today, and we even had some rain. We have thunderstorms sort of rolling around here in the North Valley, and they come through and downpour on us. But it keeps us on our toes.
It's been in the 90s out here in the Phoenix area. But it's getting cooler at night, but they're telling me that they expect some showers coming in June, and California's going to see some of that as well. So I don't know how much.
Monsoon.
Yeah.
Here comes the monsoon.
Yeah.
Which is synonymous with really muggy weather in Southern California.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing. Well, so tell us what's going on. There's lots of stuff I've been reading in your blog today and all week long. And one of the things, they got a new bill to bypass, or hopefully, or whatever, of the water rights to review to advance the Delta Tunnel.
Oh, yes. AB 2215. If you are one of my donors and sponsors and you get my weekly newsletter, then you already know all about 2215. So I'm just going to make that little plug there. But yes, 2215, the bill that's not about the Delta Tunnel, but is really about the Delta Tunnel. Although they didn't say that when they presented it there. But
what? No, they didn't? They weren't like, this is directly about the tunnel, but just like, don't talk about the tunnel. It was like Fight Club for tunnel.
Well, they're having this big water right hearing at the State Water Board, and so this issue has come up that the State Water Project never finished their water right license process. They never perfected their water right, and so they are trying now to figure out how much they've asked for. Okay, well, how much water did you take so we can determine what the water right is, and then it sort of comes out that they've been trying to fix this since 1993, although the first I heard about this was only a couple of years ago, and I've been doing this for, nearly 20 years now. So I don't know if it was just forgotten or what, but the issue is that the State Water Project never finished the water right process. So it would be then determined on how much water they have taken to date, and then they would set that as the limit for the permit. But with these flashy storms and with the Delta Tunnel, they don't want to be limited to that, because there could be opportunities when water flows are high to get more water than they have been getting in the past. In fact, that's how they plan to get more water with the Delta Conveyance Project, is through the flashy storms. But if they go back on the historical water use, then they're going to be limited. And even if they go back to the historical water use, that's going to take a lot of time to get all that information out and make the determination. And we're really trying to get going on this Delta Tunnel project sooner rather than later. In fact, Metropolitan Chair Adán Ortega has said, really this needs to be a go before Governor Newsom leaves office, because who knows what the next governor is going to do with this project, and probably not keep it on its course unless it's already set. So they need this bill to fix that problem. So technically, it's about extending the time for the State Water Project to get its water rights in order, but really, it's about the Delta Tunnel. So we'll see. It passed the Assembly last night. All the bills that are generated in each house in the California legislature, they have to pass them all by last Friday, the 29th. By tomorrow. I'm sorry. I don't even know what day it is. So there's a big flurry of voting in the Capitol. And so, and that one passed, so now it moves on to the Senate, where I do believe it'll have a lot more opposition. It's kind of been flying under the radar, and now it's very much above the radar.
Do you think do you know what the vote count was? Was it bipartisan or not, one-sided or what?
I don't know. I could look it up.
I was just curious.
I know that it's very, the sentiment behind it's pretty split, northern, southern California versus left and right. And it's a lot more about the idea of giving the state water project priority over everyone else's permits, and then also the idea that because they're bypassing some of the environmental concerns, will those environmental concerns then come on to the water agencies that then receive state water project water? So there's but it's very supported by Southern California. Those are Northern California sound bites, but it sounds like it's coming from a Southern California space. It's very odd. The conversations around it are very not super direct about the water grab part of this, which feels like it's really prescient in this moment in time. But it's all these other arguments sort of surrounding it that they're trying to sort of bring to the surface and make either amendments or defeat the bill. So I'm curious. In this particular one, I am just to stand by and watch with my popcorn.
Yeah, it was a bipartisan vote. I think, like Tara said, this isn't really Republican or Democrat. It's more North and South. And interestingly, 59 legislators voted for it. Only one voted against it. And 20 did this thing that they can do here in California, where they just did not vote. So So they're not on record of doing anything. These are the people that are we won't even touch it. But 59 votes bipartisan. So yeah, it's we'll see how that goes. Been flying under the radar, but that article was the top of the stats today. So
my question or your opinion, which I highly respect. So it passes, and it goes in before Newsom leaves. But is there any I don't want to use the word opportunity. Is there any chance that the next person who comes in will try to change it?
Oh, there's always that chance. But
we had basically had the California water fix done, and then Newsom came in and went, I'm going to throw this whole thing out.
Although I think it would have been doubtful that they would have been able to get the water fix through with the tool tunnels. I think, although I think opposition is as strong for the single tunnel as it was for the double tunnel. The Delta advocates would tell you one tunnel is one tunnel too much. But, and I don't even know how this is all going to play out. It's quite fascinating to watch. I think that that it kind of needs to be done, but whether it will be able to be done is another question. The opposition is quite strong, and then we have efforts like let's talk a little bit about the Water Renaissance Plan, because this is put out by people who are very much against the tunnel, and so they're saying you can do these other things. You can conserve more water. You can recycle more water. You can do stormwater capture. And while I'm a little doubtful that Southern California can be really weaned off of imported water, to me, there's some big questions in that plan. Like, if you recycle water, well, you have to have water that you use first to be recycled. So there has to be something, in the system to be recycled. And I just think the numbers are just awfully. Metropolitan's water demand is 1.4 million acre feet a year. It brings in imported water from that with the State Water Project and the Colorado River. So this idea that 85% of that water could be generated locally, 85% of 1.4 million acre feet is a lot. I'm not going to do the math, but it's a lot.
Well, I read that in the article, and I was just really surprised that they even mentioned that, because I don't know how could they do that.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is Edward Ring put out a rebuttal to this commentary, to this Water Renaissance Plan. And what's interesting here is that, he kind of takes it and goes the other way, and then keeps on going a little bit further after he gets to the end. And he says, well, yeah, sure, you can do all that, but then, you should also bring in desalination. And he said you could generate 400,000 acre feet, I think is what I read in there, of desalinated water for $7.4 billion of construction. Excuse me.
And
So,
my big question of that is
400,
who's going to
that's
pay
not
for
much.
it? Always. My big question of that is who's going to pay for it?
Well, I think let's actually discuss desalination in Southern California, and hopefully my throat will allow me to do this. The issue is you'd have to bring in a lot, and I believe the number that Metropolitan said at one time would be like 19 desalination plants the size of Carlsbad up and down the coast from San Diego up to Ventura County, and then you could replace your imported water with that. Well, okay, let's just play with that for a moment. Now, all the infrastructure in Metropolitan service area, it brings in a large amount of water down from the north and a lot of water in from the east. And the pipes are very big as it enters Southern California. And as it goes through the area, it takes the water here or there, and the pipes get smaller. And when you get down to the coast, they're very, very small compared to the pipes with bringing the water in.
And you have leakage on the way, too.
Yeah, and so like Bill Hazenkamp, who's the Colorado River manager for Metropolitan, said that bringing in a lot of water at the coast would be like getting a blood transfusion through your pinky toe. I mean, it just, the infrastructure is completely reversed. So what would you have to do? Plus, I'm pretty sure after you desalinate water, you probably still need to go through drinking water treatment. So you got to have drinking water plants. And there's no room down by the coast to have drinking water plants. So the only way that I could see that you could do this is you would have to tunnel a big tunnel from the coast and take it up to the Jensen treatment plant in northern San Fernando Valley, which is one of the largest treatment plants in the world. and you take it there, and also tunnel it in all the way back to Laverne, which I believe is where the Weymouth treatment plant is. I mean, because you can't build little drinking water treatment plants next to all those 19. I mean, the land area at the coast, it would be it's very expensive, and you'd be displacing a lot of people and assets down there. So, you know, if you think it's not just the cost of those desalination plants, it's also the infrastructure to deliver that water. And the only way it makes sense to me is to pipe it up to the drinking water plants and send it through there, and then it filters back down, excuse me, through the existing infrastructure.
Well, look how long.
Well, and that's not, I was just going to say, that's not even dealing with Central California, right? Because it's not just Southern California that relies on the State Water Project. It's all the offshoots. It's all our ag in the middle of the valley, and they also get all the water from the State Water Project. So all of that still doesn't solve any of the actual canal issue.
No.
Plus, there's and like maybe you could talk about reuse a little bit more and more of that, but like again, how much reuse, and if we continue to conserve, we're not using as much water, and the water still has to come from somewhere to begin. So it's still not quite, I don't know, like that, the whole thing just feels like a loop that isn't quite looped.
Well, remember,
another loop that isn't quite looped is that we're going to take, LA's going to build that big water purification plant with water from the LA River. But the LA River has like birds and things that, I mean, that recycled water is the water that runs through the Los Angeles River and we really should paint the correct picture here for the folks, you know, that don't live in Southern California. When we talk about the LA River, we're not talking dirt and trees and grass and parks. No, we're talking like an overgrown cement flood channel. That's what it is. It's just a flood channel with homes going right up to it. And so are we just gonna like dry this up? I mean, there is an ecosystem there, and they're also talking about parks. You know, like they hired the guy to design some downtown parks for Los Angeles because we're going to restore the LA River. And it's like, but wait a minute, we're going to take all that water and we're going to purify it and reuse it. So, you know, this beautiful park that they have all designed, the guy was very famous. What is his name? I don't know. I cannot remember it, but yeah, you know, all these plans for the LA River, but wait, we're going to take all the water and recycle it, so I don't know how it's going to work.
But don't forget, the Carlsbad desal plant took 17 years from start to finish.
Well, it encountered lots and lots and lots of opposition. And if you're going to try and build some desalination plants, and we're talking 19, a couple of them are going to land up in, you know, Santa Monica, Venice.
Yep.
The people in Malibu with a lot of money to oppose things. And, you know, I think that you would get a heck of a lot of opposition to try and put something in there, you know.
Sounds more like a Malibu than a Malibu.
Did you see, Karen, I don't know if you had a chance to read the blog, but the study that ASU did that sharpens Colorado's river forecast, and it's looking at deepening more water costs. I read in the local papers here that they're looking for 38 to 40% in water. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's like dreaming kind of a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if they do that with scare tactics, but it's getting a lot of HOAs are freaking out about that. Mine is freaking out about it as well, to cut. And you know, they're not going to dig up the streets to put non-potable water pipes in the city that's already put together. That's not going to happen. For new stuff, maybe, but I know that the beginning of the Hughes Corporation building 100,000 homes here. They started building a movie studio that was built, I think I mentioned it once before, with the guy from All in the Family. I can't remember, the one who got killed by his son, Reiner.
Yeah.
And they got a couple of buildings are built, but they won't let them occupy because there's no access to water.
Yeah.
So
you're building data centers and chip plants and Lake Powell and Lake Mead are circling the drain. Oh, they're talking about the water cuts now into Lake Mead are going to cut down on hydropower production. And that's going to be an issue for the Southwest, certainly.
Absolutely. Scary times, you're talking about Ed Ring, he's sounding the alarm on water and energy and the future of farming, because that's going to be hit really, really hard.
Yeah, Edward Ring is, I think he is a good counterpoint to a lot of the environmental side of things, and he's very data-driven in, site sources and links, and really states his case very well, and without, snarkiness that can sometimes come with, the other side of these things. So I really appreciate that about him. I don't always agree with what he says, but I do appreciate the way he says it, in that he cites his sources and shows us his work, his thoughts.
I want to try to see if I can get him on the show. I know we got some people.
Oh, definitely. Do you want his? I'll send you his email.
Perfect. I know we have a confirmation from Aqua. They're going to come on, and the general manager from San Jose Water is going to come on. Oh, I got Sonic Fire Tech. I mentioned that to you guys a couple of weeks ago. They put out fires by Subsonic Audio.
Oh, there's hope for my rock and roll CD collection yet.
That's right. Turn it on.
Motley Crue versus the Fire.
Yes, and then I got a guy who's the.
I just got this whole pour some water on me.
Def Leppard. Woo!
I have a guy coming down who's head of the Algae Foundation, and that's going to be really interesting to see what they do with all the algae. They make lots of stuff. Omega-3.
As long as it's not an algal bloom, we're good.
Yeah. So anyway, but you're right with Ed Ring. I think he's a very intelligent guy. He's very data driven. I mean, he has all the facts in his back pocket. So when he talks or writes, he knows exactly what he's talking about. You can't argue what he says. You may not, like you said, you may not agree on the policy or what he wants to go to, but he's very factual and he tells the truth. I appreciate that from him. He's
absolutely.
That. So, anything else that's going on in the world of water? Sure.
Gosh, nothing. There's always something, but I'm looking here. Yeah.
Sites. Any action on sites?
Oh yes. The time period for the draft water rights decision comments to be collected and submitted closed on Friday, and sites is very disappointed with the water that the amount of water that they would be allowed to divert. They want to have more water. Not surprising. So they have submitted their comments, and I have not yet dug into that, but that's on my list of things to explore.
Okay, well, we'll save that for next week. We appreciate you being on the show every week. And for our listeners, as I always say every week, you got to go to mavensnotebook.com. Be a subscriber. You get all the latest water news any time of the day, but I get it early in the morning. I don't know, do you have that automatically set up? Because it comes at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh. No, I post at 9.
Oh, okay.
And then it goes out by email.
Oh, okay. Well,
I get them all day long. I actually the way I do it is I have things come in as they happen, which I really appreciate.
Oh, you get the instant news, so that's good. You can also become a sponsor of the show. for her blog, and that's a great thing to do, and she would appreciate that very much. So, Chris, thank you very much for everything that you do for the show and what you do for the industry, and we appreciate that. So you have a great weekend. Hope it rains. So we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
All right, we're going to take a little break and be back with I'll call it a different kind of featured guest, and we'll surprise you when it comes back. So stick around.
This is KCAA.
Water is one of the biggest expenses for communities, HOAs, universities, golf courses, and resorts. So keeping those costs under control, especially when rates are increasing while water supplies are being reduced, are often essential to a customer's survival. Managing water requires multiple skills, which is why it's been complicated and difficult until now. AquaTrack brings multiple skills and technologies together to help large system users conserve outdoor water and improve the health of their landscapes. AquaTrack's professionals are certified landscape water managers and certified landscape irrigation auditors. The company offers audit services, upgrade advice, technical expertise, and water use monitoring. We already manage irrigation water for the largest homeowner associations in Arizona, and we're prepared to bring our knowledge and experience to help others, including landscapers and designers. Give us a call and hear how AquaTrack saved one HOA some 430 million gallons of water and $200,000 in annual water expenses. AquaTrack is Arizona-based, and you can reach us at 623-594-8689. That's 623-594-8689.
Oh, sorry. Just finishing the morning grooming. Most dogs need a brush. This one, just a little weeding. If only your own lawn could be so easy to manage. Wait, it can be. Let me introduce to you the Pro Trade Pet Turf. This turf has a permeable backing, allowing rain, rinsing, or dog debris to just filter right through and not hang around. It's easy to maintain, easy to clean, and even easier to install. It's manufactured so that the color looks as good on day one as it does on day 1000. To order your Pro Trade Pet Turf today, come into your local SiteOne store or check out siteone.com.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
KCAA.
Show. Hope everybody's tuned in. I'm Rob Starlow with Miss Tara Morali. And Tara, you know, I've been getting lots of emails about you.
What? That's crazy.
As I said to you in an email today, you're popular. Everybody wants to know more about you. Who are you? What you do? And all that stuff. And one person wanted to know where can they get a picture of you? I didn't answer that. not that it's a bad thing, but I'm not doing that. You know, that's kind of.
I appreciate the privacy.
I don't know what kind of person he is or anything else, but a lot of people are saying, "Hey, she's pretty hip, pretty nice, and you know, what does she do and all that." So maybe just for a second, you can kind of give us what you do, where you work, if you want to do that. I mean, we all know you work for a water agency, or you know, but just so they get an in-depth kind of review of who you are, and you know, one person wanted to know: are you single? Are you married? Do you have a boyfriend? I mean, I'm getting all kinds of crazy stuff. They like your wit. They like what you do on the show, and so they're asking me questions. And I have to say, sometimes I can't do that without your permission. And so I figured I'd ask you today, and you can tell us what you want to tell us or not.
Fun times. So my job title is I'm the Public Outreach and External Affairs Manager for United Water Conservation District, And that is a career that I have just recently adopted. I used to be one of those consultants, hopefully not the one that cuts the line and spills crude oil into the LA River that we're now trying to turn into a park. I don't know what that looks like, but yeah, I have been doing communications about water for roughly almost 20 years. So I started in 2009. So it's been a hot minute. And then before that, I used to communicate about the semiconductor industry and also hardware and paint centuries. So a long communication in a very technical field, or a long career in communicating about very technical things. So I try to use that and leverage that early information into the water industry, which is highly technical in and of itself.
So that's why you know a lot, and that's why you can answer a lot of questions and things like that. One of the things I want to talk to you about is the future of U.S. water regulations and policies. What if some of them hit your organization that you worry about? I mean, they talk about the congressional review things of the EPA, and they're even letting places dump PFAS in the water. But then but not all kinds. They have a certain amount of numbers that you could use, and then I have some statistics. What are those common current policies that affect your organization?
So the ones that affect my organization are more when you have two different regulatory bodies that cannot agree on a path forward. So that's
a natural thing, right?
Right. So we end up being regulated by both National Marine Fisheries Service, or NMFS, and then we're also regulated by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They do sort of the same job, and they don't always agree, and that can be really difficult. And when you have proven science, like you've done the work, you've counted the fish, and you're like, this is how many fish we have, and they're like, yeah, but there could be fish, and you're like, but there really could. I mean, there's no water, there's no habitat. What are you talking about? It's that kind of common sense piece of things that ends up getting lost in translation, I feel like, because there are so many regulations, and I feel like regulations are there to protect us. So I don't want there to be, I'm not saying abolish regulation, but I do feel like sometimes that regulation gets used as how do I want to say this because it's delicate. It gets sometimes used maybe without consideration of the consequence to everyone who has to live with that regulation. So I'd like to think that it's not intentional. But sometimes I'm concerned that it is. We all have those moments where we wake up at night and we feel like everyone's out to get us. But in general, it's usually because people are trying to do good, and that sometimes yields not the best good. Yeah. It's just the truth.
Well, we all want good. If you take a look at 3 of the clean water proposals that are under consideration from the government, one big deal is the lead pipes. Okay?
Yeah.
They're still poisoning our drinking water, and they may never be replaced. I think back in 2024, the lead and copper rule improvements on the LCR were finalized. And, lead is a known neurotoxin linked to, cognitive impairment. It does a lot of different things. If you can change these pipes, which is, I'll tell you how long they are in total. We got to protect 900,000 infants from being born with low birth weight each year. Continues for the lead. Prevents up to 200,000 IQ points lost in children annually. Prevents attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. It reduces up to 1,500 cases of premature deaths from heart disease annually. And when you take a look at what they have, there's probably 9 million lead water service lines in operation across the nation. So in other words, lead pipes are virtually everywhere, making it pretty much impossible to go change it all and dig it up. It would cost a fortune. They say $90 billion. I think that's a way low number.
It probably is.
I would say it's 4 to 5 times the amount.
And it's this thing where if we, my boss says this thing all the time. My boss's name is Mauricio. He's actually been on the show before, Mauricio Bordado, and he says, if you can't trust us with the small stuff, how are you going to trust us with the big stuff? All right, so he's very detail-oriented. We always make sure that the small stuff is done well so that way they can trust us with the big stuff. It feels like all of the pipes in your one town that are lead, that's the small stuff. That's like the stuff that's like, can we at least get that part right before we're focused on building a giant desalination plant in Malibu? Like, can we try to refocus to hit those things that we know everyone agrees is bad. Everyone agrees lead pipes, thumbs down. Nobody's like, this lead pipe, this is exactly what I was hoping for, right? Nobody says that. Meanwhile, we're going to spend all of this time and energy fighting things where we can't agree because both sides have a point. And can we prioritize maybe some of the things that we can all agree on real quick first? And then maybe try to get into the meaning of life where we don't agree and we'll probably never all agree on the same thing. I feel like, just personally, and I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone when I say this, I feel like focusing on those things that are expensive and important really need to happen like now, as opposed to the things that feel like they might happen or could happen or would be great if they happened, because likely those things that are in that space maybe aren't a priority for a reason.
Yeah. The lead pipes affects all the 50 states. It affects 186 million people. That's half the population of the United States. And toxicity rating is 7 to 10. I mean, it's huge, and that's a big deal. And then the second thing that I see is companies continue dumping PFAS into the tap water supplies. That's a big thing. And they call PFAS, everybody might use the term forever chemicals. That's kind of what it is. But it's linked to cancer, liver damage, immune system disruption. And they're found in everyday products. They persist in the environment and water supply for decades, hence their nickname. And I think we talked once on our show a couple of weeks back about a couple of doctors found tons of PFAS in people's bodies. And that's kind of scary. You walk around like a plastic bottle inside you to do that.
Well, that with the microplastics, I mean, aren't we all?
Yeah.
So here are my thoughts on PFAS. It's everywhere. Until we can figure out a way to not continue to manufacture using that product, we're never going to get away from it. The fact that it's in our it's in the soil, it's in the water, it's in us, it's everywhere. I don't know that focusing so hyper intentionally on water is, again, like the greatest course of action. It's like we're mitigating this problem that we are perpetuating at the same time. So maybe if we think about how to solve, I think of it in terms of math equation, right? You're solving for X. You're solving for the problem, which is the fact that we keep creating things with PFAS because we don't have a better water resistant, a better, Teflon coating. Like, we don't have the thing that we're trying to make without it. So if we spent money on trying to make the thing without it and then remediated, or at least stopped producing those things in the meantime, or figured out what was essential and then tried to address the origin of the issue, I feel like we'd be in a much better place than focusing so much on, because it's going to be in all of us. It's already there already. I don't know what we're trying to fight at this point. Let's take it out, but in the meantime.
A couple of years ago, the last administration, they put a notice out that you can legally pollute waterways with PFAS. And the proposed rule was aimed to set the limits on the PFAS discharges, and especially from industrial sources and targeting manufacturing responsible for releasing those. Well, an executive order rolled back that. So that's a good thing. But supporters of the rollback argued it reduces regulatory burdens on manufacturers, while critics worry it delays urgent public health protections, and it does. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and meanwhile, people are getting sick.
And that's my whole point is,
right.
We're always going to have it. We don't know what to do with it because we haven't figured out how to get the thing that we need without having it.
Yep.
So whether it's, buried in a landfill where it's contaminating the soil and contaminating the air, or it's in our water, we still have created the thing. That's why I'm saying yes, let's limit the pollution as much as we can. Let's limit all the stuff as much as we can, but we're never really going to address the underlying issue unless we can figure out how to build the thing without the poison.
We also got a nasty chemical, trichloroethylene, which people use the short term TCE. It's a toxin solvent, that they use for industrial processes.
They use it a lot to clean airports.
Yeah, and a lot of military bases where it's contaminated water supplies through the part, So you got all those things. And so what happens if the rule is permanently repealed? Well, you got industries would no longer be required to phase out the trichloroethylene. The chemical can remain in the environment and lead to ongoing health concerns. And military bases and communities near industrial sites would face prolonged exposure to TCE. So again, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But, it's like the series that we're doing with the oil fracking and produced water. They found other uses for brine. And that's helping out. And so instead of arguing back and forth, they should put some scientific group or some universities together and try to figure out what can you do. I mean, I believe any situation can be solved. It's just like when I was younger, way younger, the first two.
That's so Pollyanna of you. I would not have affected. You're so Pollyanna. I love that. I don't believe that every problem can be solved. My parents definitely were not a problem that could be solved.
No, but I remember a James Bond movie, and the guy had these air packs, and he presses thumbs on the buttons, and he flies off, right? And I was only like 10 or 12 when I saw that thing. Well, that's pretty awesome. But guess what? They have those today. Well, they had them a couple of years back either. So to me, I believe if you can think about something, you can create something out of that. Now, it may not take a week. It may not take a month. It may not take a year. It could take a decade. But I believe it can be solved. If people put their minds and attention together to figure out, just like this professor we had on a while back, Professor George Pollan from the University of Washington, where he discovered not that you have water in you, but the water inside you carries a negative charge. And then some guy, Matt Hammond, who is the CEO of Signal Relief Patch, figured that out. They got with him, and then he made a mouse pad that with silver on it, acts as an antenna array. And when you put it on the spot that hurts you, it reacts with the negative thing, and negative water charge, and all of a sudden it relieves pain. Now, who in the world would ever think of something like that? Or you go to Africa and you find a yellow frog that makes medicine to cure other diseases. How would you even start to think, I got to go find a yellow frog because that's going to fix this problem? How do you do
Nobody
that?
was licking frogs. That's all I'm saying. Somebody was like, I don't know, this looks sus, but I'm bored and it's Friday.
That could be true because a lot of things are stumbled upon, But I mean, how does somebody figure to go look for some weird animals or some weird plants somewhere buried in, there's a woman's commercial, a doctor, what's her name? She's not a doctor, she's an actress.
Does anyone watch commercials anymore? I don't know.
You get up when you get a drink out of the refrigerator. But I can't remember her name. And she has this ultimate beauty thing, and she's an actress and stuff. And this French doctor discovered a melon in the hills of France, and it has the living molecule that makes you stay younger and all this other stuff. I mean, how do you think about where to go get those things? Or should even look for them?
To me, there's this mix of how do we discover these interesting things organically, and then there's so I'm in marketing, right? So everything I hear, I run it through am I going to believe that or not? What's the credibility score of the people telling me the thing? And then I start to go did they find a melon or did they invent a melon because they came up with something that kind of works better than it used to, and it has this natural fragrance because there was a melon, and we're going to make that melon like way more important than it really is to the whole situation. So there's a lot of, I don't know, I don't believe a lot of people. I've been, like I'm raised in this very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't believe everything I read, and I really don't. And I try to be open-minded as much as I can, but it's been abused. That trust has been abused so much over time with like the discovery of, oh, this isn't really good for you, and oh, this I don't even remember when everything was low fat, and then like, oh, low fat's actually really bad for you because it doesn't give you the healthy fats, and like so everything, I don't know, like that whole idea that I'm going to think that person actually comes up with the idea on their own just randomly, it's not something I believe anymore, I don't think.
Well, recently, I think I told you I got a torn meniscus, and I went to an orthopedic guy, and he gave me a cortisone shot.
Okay.
And so I was looking through the internet the other day, and it says, all the reasons you shouldn't get a cortisone shot, all the reactions and stuff. And it's like, okay, so what do you believe and what you don't believe? This is the next thing I'm going to tell you happened when you were little, or not even born yet. They had a thing called Fen diet.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Fen.
And everybody, it's just like
and then everybody got heart attacks.
Yeah, it's just like the GLP-1, whatever they're advertising with all these new things,
Yeah, it was basically speed, if I remember correctly. Fen was basically epinephrine.
Yeah. And it says you can lose 28 or 30% of your yearly weight if you take these pills and all this stuff. And I'm thinking everybody, and it's a big deal. I mean, all these companies are coming out with Roe and this and that. And I'm thinking, okay, so people are going to take them 5 to 10 years, and then they're going to find out they're going to die.
Yeah.
And I heard on the radio today they did a study on the pandemic stuff, the shots that you got for COVID. And they were telling me that they knew a certain large percentage of people were dying immediately after, within 1 to 3 days after they took the shot. And how it affected children and stuff. Everybody rushes and they think they do it. And, you want to believe that it was tested and checked, but I don't know. Like you said, I don't believe half the stuff. It's just like they said, if you took the shot and you put a magnet near your arm or where you got the shot, it stuck. It did on mine. My wife took a magnet off the refrigerator and put it on where I got my shot for the COVID, and it stuck there.
But you lived.
I lived. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe this is the afterlife for me. I don't know.
I mean, it does. Your background is very like heaven white kind of thing. Like I would believe if heaven looks like a very boring waiting room. Is all I'm saying. If you're in heaven,
I'm more in this. I always say, in God we trust. All of us bring data.
Yeah.
I'm a science engineer guy. That's what I want to know. I don't read novels. I can't read books. My wife used to give me when I traveled overseas all the time. Oh, it's something to do on a 12-hour flight. I want to read a technical manual that tells me the answer right away. I don't want to read 600 pages of some novel to tell me who did it.
Exactly.
I don't have the time for that. So, what do you think the biggest challenge of a water policy should be? Of what subject would you attack that needs to be dramatically fixed immediately or researched more that you'd like to see?
I would give more credibility to the folks on the ground. So one of the things that I've found is that there's all this trust put in the federal and state groups and not as much trust put into the water industry experts that are doing this day in and day out. And I would give more trust to them. The other thing is I would develop funding that matches the ask, because right now the need is so far beyond the ability to get a grant for something or to spread this expense across multiple people, which is how you make something affordable, is you spread the expense across hundreds of millions of people. Those two things right now do not match. You can only get grants for like $1 million, and that I would sneeze, a project, and it would be $1 million project. So the idea that these funding brackets were set 10, 15, 20 years ago, it just needs to that all needs to be addressed quickly and today. Those are the things I would change.
Do you think the government should partner more with academia and the private industry for partnerships to help do stuff?
I actually think they should partner more with their own government agencies. There are 2,500 water districts in California. Water districts, right? That's not cities. That's not anything else. They should be partnering more with other nonprofit government agencies, which I don't think they do very much. And they could lean into that a lot more, but they just sort of like for example, at United Water, we have at least 10 different scientists that work directly for us. Biologists, hydrologists, hydrogeologists. They should be working with those individuals who there's no profit involved. There's no research paper that I'm going to get credit for. We're just here to serve the people that we've been asked to serve. And they should be partnering more with those individuals than with individuals with a separate agenda, which I feel like a lot of obviously private's going to have its own agenda, but even some academia has its own agenda because they're trying to push a specific thing. Right. So to me, where I see the partnerships and collaboration is more amongst each other than it is to involve a bunch of outside individuals. Not that I think that they don't have value and that we should ignore them. And obviously, we'd love to partner with them when it makes sense. But if you're asking me specifically who I should think they should partner with more, I would recommend your actual local government agencies because they got a lot of data that you might want to have access to.
Yeah. It's interesting since I got in the water industry business, how many organizations and nonprofits and things that there are that you got Aqua, I go down the list. There's tons of them. And everybody that I know belongs to every one of those. They get things done. I guess we're still going to have the issue of people believing one thing and people with different opinions believing something different. Instead of having more of, hey, we got a goal that we got to achieve. How do we do it? And it really shouldn't matter whose idea it came up with. Everybody working together to solve one issue. It's terrible to think of like World War I and World War II and some of the things. When that happened, a lot of people in America who didn't like each other's political party joined together. And that's what they're trying to do on this 250th anniversary of the United States. Make it that we're all in it together. Every one of us makes a difference, and we should all partner together to make it a good country. And the same with any challenge and things that they're working on and projects. Because I think that needs to happen more instead of who wants to sit there and beat their chest out. It was me who discovered it, this and that. It's beyond that. You're saving mankind. You're saving life by coming up and doing something smart that will help water and solve the issues.
And yet we're human.
Yeah.
Praise that.
Yeah. I guess that's the good and the bad of being a human being. But they're just releasing the alien tapes. So we're finding out more and more about that. See, maybe those people can help us. Apparently, we have some people packed away in an underground bunker somewhere. We should open that up so we can talk to them. Maybe they have the way to figure it out. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just crazy on that. But it's time to turn it over to NBC News. I appreciate that. And now thank you for the updates on your career and what you do, because now I don't have to answer all these emails all the time. Like I said, it's not embarrassing questions. I just don't want to give away your personal information. That's not what I do here. But if you send me $10, I can know.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932. Protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
Stanley Cup playoffs, the Hurricanes with a 3-goal first period shut out the Canadiens 4-0. Now a win away from reaching the Stanley Cup final. NFL, 25 teams were on the field for OTAs yesterday, including the Vikings. As quarterback J.J. McCarthy spoke for the first time on the signing of former Cardinals QB Kyler Murray, was asked about the relationship and if it's awkward.
It's just like two guys in a classroom. He sits on one side, I sit on the other side, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us. Awkwardness, it's just like the same feeling, when you're in high school and there's another person on the other side of the room. That's just kind of how it is. So I wouldn't say there's any awkwardness.
McCarthy also said it will be a true competition. In baseball, Phillies lefty Christopher Sanchez pitched 7 shutout innings to extend his scoreless streak to 44 2/3 to set a new franchise record in a 3-0 win over the Padres. That's sports. I'm Ronza Moss.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Baseline Burger in San Bernardino is open 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 25578 East Baseline Street in San Bernardino. Check them out on Yelp or their website, BaselineBurger.com. Baseline Burger, 25578 East Baseline Street in San Bernardino. Always fresh and quality you can taste. Baseline Burger.
Are you tired of a government you worry about? Well, vote for Donald Williamson for California State Board of Equalization, District 1. Find out more about Donald Williamson at votedonaldwilliamson.com.
With 35 plus years experience, Williamson is a proven, dedicated public servant. Most of all, he's a tax saver. His priority is to protect seniors and retirees.
As a former tax assessor of San Bernardino County for 3 terms, he has a proven track record of helping people through difficult times.
You'll rest easy with Donald Williamson in office. He'll protect Social Security, protect Medicare, protect California's homeowners, and protect mobile homeowners, too.
He served in the Marine Corps, and he's a small business owner. Donald Williamson is used to defending people. He's a record tax saver. Elect Donald Williamson and relax.
He's one of us and belongs to and personally donates to and is active in many nonprofits and community groups.
VoteDonaldWilliamson.com. That's VoteDonaldWilliamson.com. Paid for by the committee to elect Donald Williamson, California State Board of Equalization, District 1.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email CEO@kcaaradio.com.
KCAA.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. What an interesting cabinet meeting presser that Trump had on Wednesday. And as I'm watching this, I keep coming back to the sad reality that, my goodness, if my children whined and complained as much as this guy does, how did we get such a whining, little, sniveling? And the weird thing, and this is the weird thing, the people who are we are a society of participation awards, and too much self-esteem for kids, and we need to be tougher, and we need to suck things up, and we need to man up. Where are those freaking people looking at this whiny little sniveling? Wow. I sat through a good portion of it. I had to walk away because I'll be honest, I mourn for our country because there doesn't seem to be any outrage over. That's a daily occurrence, and it's been look. I think we're all struggling from PTSD, from some bit of trauma on just being lied to, whined at, complained to, misinformed, overly misinformed, again, lied to. I think we're just kind of at a point where we just want some peace and quiet. And I've had people say, Rick, I've just had to back away. I've just had to turn it off. I've just had to ignore and pick my battles. And I understand that 100% understand that. But wow. So I went and I said, well, let's see what the media, our corporate media is focusing on. They focused on the fact that he mixed up Iran and Venezuela. Said that, things going on in Venezuela are going really well because evidently Venezuela doesn't have a navy now. He meant Iran. And here again, I don't know what they've accomplished there yet in Iran. Claims that they're negotiating on fumes. Iran's negotiating on fumes. I guess they had no choice but to accept U.S. terms, despite the ongoing indication that Tehran still had regional leverage and alternative partners. And fact checkers again looked at Trump and go, yeah, kind of overstatement, kind of a lie. And the drug price thing. Again, everything Trump does is the best ever. There's never been anyone's ever seen anything like it. It's fabulous, it's terrific, it's tremendous. It's all these things when the reality is it doesn't do anything. Historic drug prices, he said. In fact, he said we were paying the highest, now we're paying the lowest. And most independent analysis shows not that. We're still among the highest in the world. And the changes that have happened are either modest or haven't really been fully implemented yet. But for me, it came back to he keeps whining that, they won't cover my good stuff because your good stuff isn't any good. For instance, he said, we've spent all this money on military. $1 trillion. We've asked for $1.5 trillion on military. And there are those of us who are going, we already spend more money than virtually every country in the world combined on military. We better have the biggest, best military on the planet. But we're also not funding programs that help poor children, veterans, the people that are in the military. It seems to me that would be something worthy of talking about. But no, it's all about, look at how tremendous we're spending money, while simultaneously saying that the debt's too high. It's crazy. But it's what we've come to expect. And it's not just expect, but we're okay. We seem to be okay with. Because our media didn't cover a lot of the crazy stuff that I saw. Iran's got 250% inflation. Social Security has people who are 115 years old collecting, and there's fraud there, lots of it. We're going after it. And you go, no, you're just shutting it down. I feel for us because I see so many people who just want to, please, just make it stop. Let them steal as much. And the calling of everybody else a crook, that broke me. When the biggest crook in government is pointing his finger, as my mother always said, you got 3 pointing back at you, buddy. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Right back. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1882. That was the day that John Muir, a Scottish-American conservationist, founded the Sierra Club in San Francisco, California. The Sierra Club's purpose was to explore, enjoy, and protect the wild places of the earth. Today, the organization has more than 1 million members and is one of the most well-known environmental organizations on the planet. The labor movement and the environmental movements in the United States have not always had an easy relationship. Too often, politicians and the media have framed policy decisions as a choice between good jobs and a clean environment. But during the 1990s, some environmentalists and unionists began to break down this divide. Both groups opposed the North American Free Trade Agreement, arguing it would have a negative impact on both jobs and the environment. During the massive protests of the World Trade Organization in 1999 in Seattle, labor protested alongside environmental activists. One memorable tagline to come out of the protest was, "Turtles love Teamsters, Teamsters love turtles." Then, in 2006, the Sierra Club partnered with the United Steelworkers to launch the Blue-Green Alliance. The effort joins together blue-collar workers with green environmental justice groups. The partnership seeks to supply policy and education about sustainable job growth in fields such as clean energy. Multiple environmental groups and unions, including the American Federation of Teachers, the Communication Workers of America, the Service Employees International Union, and the United Auto Workers, have signed on to the effort. But it's not always easy to keep the two causes united. In 2012, the Laborers Union left the alliance due to disagreements over the Keystone XL pipeline. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
You know, I've asked the question numerous times over the years, what good's an economy if hard work is not rewarded and families continue to fall behind? What good is having an economy if you can't get ahead, if working hard, playing by the rules continually makes you struggle? And I saw this piece over at Jacobin Magazine where I thought this is what we need to be talking about. That's why I've asked my good friend Mateus Verningo to come share some thoughts. He's an economics professor over at Bucknell. Got this new piece, A Left Moral Vision Needs a Political Economy to Match, where he argues, look, big slogans like economy for life don't mean much unless they're backed up by real changes on, well, who has power and who gets paid. He also argues that today's neoliberal capitalist system is still working really well for the folks it's supposed to work for, keeping wages down, unions weak, but we don't really have an economy that serves we the people, and that's why I've asked Mateus to come share some thoughts with us. Mateus, thanks for taking time.
Well, thank you for having me, Rick.
So this is an argument. Your piece was about the global economy and outside of the the shores of the U.S.